All right, guys, it's Jahlon, and this is your Ashes of Creation update for February 2022. Big one, people were expecting an Alpha 2 date. I keep hearing people are wanting the Alpha 2 date. You're not going to get an Alpha 2 date for several months. You might not even get an Alpha 2 date till later this year. So if you're one of the people who checks out all the videos because you're waiting for an Alpha 2 date, just do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and trust me, when there's an Alpha 2 date, I'm going to push that out everywhere. I'm going to do a video on the Alpha 2 announcement. The other thing people were waiting for was the character creator. We were told that we would see a tease of the character creator this month. Sadly, that wasn't ready yet. It needs a little bit more time in development in order to be ready for showcase. And with that said, I understand a lot of you are going to leave the video now. Thanks for stopping by. For everybody else, let's drop into the nuts and bolts of what we saw yesterday. I want to say I give the live stream an A-. The pace was so much better. We were an hour into the live stream before we got to the Q&A, and it really felt like 20 to 30 minutes. So not droning on, not dragging things on, so much better. That was the same sort of sentiment my audience on Twitch said. The attention to detail was better. Steven was able to ask Margaret who did this, and Margaret was ready. She's like, okay, this artist did this artist did that. It's exactly what you want to have. They also hailed Bryan Langford. It was his first time on a stream. It was also his 3-year anniversary at Intrepid. For people that don't know him, Bryan is the executive producer on Ashes of Creation. He's been there for 3 years now. Prior to that, in the video game industry, he was a senior producer at NCSoft. He worked on Blade and Soul. He was also a senior producer at Blizzard, and then he was a project manager in at Blizzard. He did a couple of other things. He's also got some pedigree from outside the gaming industry, so he brings a lot to the table. What I do want to say is I love the fact that when Bryan was introduced, Steven did the "what does a producer do" question. I was hoping Intrepid would start going this route as they bring people on. If you want the quick answer, what a producer does is make sure that the team is measuring twice and cutting once. They lay out a lot of pros and cons for different options. They really are the navigator. Sometimes you want to go straight to a solution, and other times you might want to do a roundabout way to get to a solution because each one brings different things to the table. The other thing they do is they spend a lot of time resolving issues, both current issues, and they have their eyes on the horizon looking for future issues. And so they have the visibility on that, and they ensure cross-team communication. It's really common in projects. The team is really good, but it's not communicating with the other teams. That's what the producers actually accomplish. If you want to know more, I recommend you check out the entire segment over on the official live stream. I will put a link to that in the description below when that is out. Next up, we got a lot of information about animal husbandry. Now, I know there was some confusion about animal husbandry. I saw it in the official live stream chat. I saw it in my chat. So I did go to Steven. I asked for clarification. Animal husbandry, of course, subject to change. Taming is in gathering. Animal husbandry is in processing, and that includes like the breeding part. And then the gear for pets and mounts, that's what's in crafting. Now, I know that's going to break the gather, process, crafting trinity a little bit on husbandry, but I can see where they're going with it. There's a ton of stuff going on with husbandry. It sounds like the person in the design pod ran with it. They have genetics, they have stat blocks, so there aren't identical twins and triplets, and everybody on the server ends up with like the same carbon copy mount. And they also talked about animal husbandry having specializations. You'll specialize in either mounts, pets, livestock, or beasts of burden. So like a good live stream should happen. We should get some answers, and then those answers should leave us with more questions. And that's what we want. This is going to give us stuff to talk about and hypothesize about and theory craft about. So that's amazing. Next up, talking about the world, we got some interesting updates on the world. We know there's going to be 18 biomes. They showed us a map of the Riverlands, but we also can cheat a little bit. We can see the Badlands as well. We heard from Margaret, so this is only Margaret confirmed. Remember, it's not confirmed until it's Steven confirmed, that the Riverlands is the Kalar homeland. So the Riverlands starting camp will probably be the Kalar racial inspired one. But remember, anyone can start at any starting area. Stephen talked about an issue people have been concerned about, especially with racial architecture. And so this month they showed off a lot of Py'rai Architecture, and Py'rai Architecture is infused with the surrounding trees. So how does that get adapted and encapsulated into areas where trees shouldn't have a lot of, prevalence? Like, how would you have an outcropping of trees in the middle of a desert? So that's something that Stephen and the team is now trying to resolve, specific biome issues. This also is going to affect the Ren'kai. I know that we've seen some amazing Ren'kai art in the past, some concept art, but here's some other stuff that came from the live stream. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two subraces specifically influence these nodes in weird biomes. Speaking of the Py'rai, we did get our first look at the Py'rai, and it was a surprise move. The Py'rai have horns. They're elves with horns, and yes, these horns are mandatory. You can size them, you can shape them. They can be asymmetrical if you want them to be, but you have to have a pair. Now, I'm going to talk more about the Py'rai in a different video. I wanted to make sure I show it off here because it is the big live stream reveal, but I got a different theory I want to talk about in a future video. I also wanted to show off the stuff at the end of the live stream. I know some people don't stay for the end of the live stream, and I know cosmetics are a big deal and a big issue for people, but the cosmetics really are turning out well. So I don't want to talk about cosmetics now. I don't want to hear the complaints about them now. I don't want you to not have a complaint or concern. I want you to join me on my Twitch show Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you have a concern about cosmetics, come over there so we can talk about it. With that, we can jump into the Q&A, and the best question that was in the Q&A was about procedural generation. Will Intrepid use procedural generation? And the answer is yes, but Stephen wants to make sure there are well-defined boundaries. It can't appear as procedural. It must be well perceived, and that is so important. Stephen has said he never wants to take shortcuts, so this was a great answer. We also heard about storage crates, and of course, all of this is subject to change, but we know that caravans will have a crate capacity and that crates will have a storage capacity. During the segment, we found out that your warehouse will have a finite amount of space, so you won't be able to just continuously unload caravans into your personal warehouse at the node. So again, this is a great teaser from the live stream, but it leaves us asking for more, specifically because the 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 ratio seems to have been broken by this new information. To jump into naval content, we did hear during the live stream for the first time different classes of ships. Stephen mentioned both warships and transport ships, and as you know, there's going to be 1 to 3 person ships, 8-man ships, and 40-man ships. So we've seen some skins along the lines of the transport ship or the clearly the warship, but now we're starting to get a little bit more detail. Of course, this brings in another cosmetic question, so I'm really hoping that Intrepid realizes that they're selling cosmetics, but now there's 3 sizes of ships, at least 2 classes of ships. What am I buying and what can it go on? With naval combat, Stephen also hinted that some classes will have advantages in naval combat due to their archetype or their class abilities, their class utilities. One thing he mentioned was the ability to hold your breath longer. If you ever played Arcade, you know in naval content, certain skill trees had an advantage in naval combat, especially witchcraft. It had an AoE fear, it had a lot of CCs, really good way to get people off the boat into the water. I'm really hoping though that that Ashes of Creation's naval combat doesn't turn into Arcade, where it's not ship versus ship, it's just about boarding. That would be a big disappointment. We were told that mobs are going to have certain behaviors. The AI at certain hit point numbers may disengage, may run around corners, may look for cover. So it's going to be interesting to see what Intrepid brings to the table with different AI. And finally, somebody asked if you could have more than one moon in Verra, and Margaret responded to that question exactly like I did. What makes you think there is only one moon? And with that said, guys, that is really your update for February 2022. Not a lot of stuff going on, not a lot of reveals. The last 2 months have been a lot of bringing the character reveals out. We are still waiting for some Talnar art. We're waiting on one other human race to come out, and I think there's going to be a surprise with that, something a lot of people may not know about the lore, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. I don't want to steal any thunder. With that said, as I mentioned, I do stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can feel free to swing over for a few minutes if you have a question. I love audience questions. All the music you heard today during the video, that all belongs to PGN Music. It is all DMCA free, my fellow content creators. You can follow the link. It'll take you to YouTube. It's also up on Spotify if you want to build a playlist out of the music. I am going to make a selfish request. If you can go down into the description or click the link and go over to the PGN YouTube channel and subscribe. Can't get that channel monetized until it has 1,000 subscribers, and right now we're just losing money. We're losing advertising revenue, not making any money on the YouTube channel. So if you could help me out, I would greatly appreciate that. With that said, if you have any questions about Ashes of Creation, make sure to check out the wiki, check out Ashes 101, check out my show, join us on the official Discord, or join me on my Discord. I can get you squared away. Until next time, you guys take care and bring the best questions you can, because that's going to help Ashes and their development. Take care.
I say, Sprocket, we've reached the end of another video. Time to thank the sponsors. Yes, that will do, that will do. Shall we pop off for a spot of tea?